I'm going to give you a walkthrough of Figma, introduce the tools to you, and show you some of the things that we can accomplish in Figma. Now, you don't have to follow along with this video. There will be other videos that my Lee University students will need to watch and also follow the steps. So I'll have lots of videos like that, but this one is simply sit back, learn, and try and just understand how the program works. All right, so first of all, in Figma, we have what is called an artboard here. You see the square, and this is my full artboard. It's highlighted in this blue. So this is my artboard, and this is where I am going to be creating my web page design. We design first in Figma, and then once we have the design aesthetically pleasing, then we move into WordPress. All right, so this is a frame. You might also hear me call it an artboard. If you've ever worked in Adobe, you know that Adobe uses artboards, and that's where you design in Photoshop or in InDesign, lots of other programs as well. And so I often call this an artboard because I'm just used to that terminology. All right, so this is an artboard. You'll see I also have another artboard here, which is the menu for the website. And I have another artboard here, which is a style guide, which shows the colors and the fonts that are being used on this particular website for Missy Maple. All right, so we have that basic idea down. We have an artboard. All right, I want to come down to the bottom here, and I want to describe to you some of the tools down here. We have a move tool. You'll also hear me call this a selection tool or an arrow tool. And if you click on this caret, you'll see we have a move tool, a hand tool, a scale tool. Let's look at the move tool. If I want to move something on here, I'm going to choose that move tool or selection tool, and I'm going to click, and once it's highlighted in blue, I've selected it, and then I can move it. I could change what font I'm using on this right hand menu. I could do lots of different things here. I'm going to do a Command Z to get it, which is an undo, to get it back to where it was originally. You'll also notice that it is highlighted over here in our layers panel. And to make sure you can see the layers panel, you simply have to make sure that you have file selected, and then it will show you. You can see the different layers. If you don't see it automatically, it could be that that little caret is not open, so we then have it drop down there. I could select something else using the layers panel. So I can select here, or I can select on the frame itself. The hand tool is a bit different. The hand tool is not meant to move your various objects around. It's meant to move what perspective you see on the board. And so if I wanted to then look at another potential layout of the site, this is a different artboard, so I could then go to there and work with that. I don't like the hand tool personally, so I really don't use it. I like the move tool. And one thing I found, because I don't like the hand tool, if I want to move somewhere without using if I want to, like, look at that artboard I just showed you, I could have this move tool and I just click and kind of do a little drag and drop, and it will naturally bring me over there. So I've just clicked, kind of made a little box, and moved to where I want to go. Okay, so that's the move tool, and we're not going to use the scale tool. The next tool is the frame tool. So this is how we create a frame that we're going to be working on. So if I have a frame, click on frame tool, and there are two ways that I can create a frame or an artboard. One way is that I I've clicked on it, and I could just drag and drop a frame and just kind of freehand what size I think it should be. So that's how I can get a frame. I'm going to delete that, and there's another way I can get a frame. Click on that frame tool again, and if you notice over here, there are some options of different frames that you could have that Figma will place based on their size. So for instance, we're working on desktop size, 1440 by 1024. So I just click on desktop and it will create that size frame for me. And so it's kind of opens up just to see what you would see in when you first log onto a website. If you want your frame to have a scrolling function, you can just pull this down so it's lower, or you can go over here and we can change the height of it. So I could just, instead of it being 1024 high, I could make it say 2000 high. So now it's larger frame. All right, so that is the frame tool, and that's going to be important. What else do we have with frame? Section and slice, we're not going to use those in this class. We'll just be using the frame tool. Let's go over here, and here we have the shape tool, and we have various shapes that you can make using this tool. We will use this a lot. And when I click on rectangle, this is what I call the rectangle tool, and I can just click, drag and drop a rectangle. So for here, this what we have here so far is made up of rectangles. We have a rectangle here, we have a rectangle here, rectangle, rectangle, so lots of rectangles, and we put content often in these rectangles. All right, so what's the difference between a rectangle and a frame? Because they kind of look like the same thing, but they're not. A rectangle is a shape that we place onto a frame. If it's off of a frame, there's nothing really that you can see it yourself as a designer, but you can't show it to a client. So let me give you an example of how, if you were a web developer and you're designing a web page and you want to show your client and give them a feel of what this is like as a website, how they would experience it as a website, I would first of all click on the title of my frame, and then Figma has this function. I'm going to go over to the present mode, and I could share a link to the present mode. And this is going to open up like it is a website, and so your client could look at this, they could scroll down, and they could give you feedback, and they could say, I like this, I don't like this aspect of it, make that color a little bit different, but it gives them a feel of what the website will look like once it's completed. You can't present a shape like a rectangle, so it would to just design things on top of a shape would not be effective because you can't share that with the client. All right, so that is our rectangle tool. We will use the rectangle and the ellipse tool more than anything else. You can do lines, arrows, polygons, star, but just for web design generally, the rectangle and the ellipse or the circle tool, those make the most sense for us to use. Then we have, let's go back to the rectangle tool for a minute. So let's say I have this, let's say I have this, no, what do I want? Let me put this shape on the board for a second here. And let's say I want to change the size of it. I can just drag and drop if I want, or I can go over here and I can make the changes here. I can make it wider, in which case I could click and I could just change by typing in numbers. But also, if you notice when I hover, there's a little double-sided arrow, and if I just slide that, I can make it bigger or smaller. that way. So you can do either of those things. We can also then change the fill, what color it is, but that's for another tutorial. Okay, so that was our shape tool. Here we have the pen tool, and we are not going to use the pen tool. We are not going to use the pencil tool. So let's just pretend they don't exist. We have the type tool. The type tool is if we want to type text. So if I click on the 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 type tool or the text tool, and I just come over here, if I click, it will simply put a cursor there and I can start typing. So that's one way. And then I can edit what type of fonts I have in here right now. This is Philippa, and it's regular font, not bold, not bold, and it's 130 points. So I could edit this, but I would want to make sure that either all the text I want to edit is highlighted, and if I do that, then I could change it. So I could make this into a 10-point font, and it's teeny tiny. So I could do things like that. The other thing I can do to select it is if I, instead of highlighting it, if I click off of it, then when it's highlighted this way with the blue line, now the select tool has taken over, or the move tool has taken over, and then I can also make these changes. So either I need to have it highlighted or I need to have it selected like that. And now I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, so that's that's one way to do the type, but there's another way too. So let me go back to there. I could also drag and drop a text box, and then start typing in the text box. So either way can work, and I'm just going to delete that again. All right, then we have, this would be a comment. When you send me your stuff, I could comment on here, but you're going to ignore that. Actions, we're going to ignore. The draw, we're going to kind of ignore these as well and not really pay a whole lot of attention to them. Let's see. One more thing I want to mention is if I select a number of elements, I will have a new menu if I have more than one thing selected. That this will be something we will want to use later, and I'm going to come over and use a component tool. I'm going to click the three dots, and here are different ways that I can make those three objects interact together. And you'll learn about this in a tutorial when we're working on logos, where you'll learn how to use these. But I just wanted to mention that the component tools are over here, but you have to have more than one thing selected to turn it into a component. All right, one last thing I want to mention is that with this design file here, as I mentioned, I have lots of art. I have a number of artboards on here. And if you open up your first design file, you can do everything for your class in this one design file. You don't have to have a design file for everything you do, because the free Figma account, I think they only give you 3 design files. And you don't even need 3, you just need 1, and you just will keep adding artboards. Just move to a slightly different section when you create new artboards. Now let's say you need to share your work with me, because I often will ask you to share your assignments that you've completed in Figma. You are going to go over to the share button at the top right. We're going to click share. And first of all, you'll get this little note to invite people to move this draft into your projects. And you're going to need to click on this move file. And you are going to then need to select where you're going to move it. You should only have one option. And so I'm going to say team project for my web design class, and I'm going to click move. And then I can come back to share. And what I'm going to do is I am going to say that anyone that I share it with, we're going to let them edit. Because you want to let me edit yours, if I want to show you something, I need to have the ability to edit. So now that we have that anyone can edit, we are going to go to copy link, and you're going to insert that link into your Moodle assignment when you have to do something here. All right, I want to show one last thing. I want you to know that Figma does a lot of redesign of their elements. So you will sometimes see tutorials from me that show the tools in a different space. So while I just showed you the tools down in the bottom center, they used to be in the top left. We have that move tool, the frame tool, the shape tool, pen tool, text tool, and the hand tool was over here. It wasn't connected in with the move tool. So all those used to be there, and they're now down here. But if you see a video and you see me pointing out these tools, well, you know it's the exact same thing, that the move tool or the selection tool is, it just happens to be down here now, but it still works the same way. And what you see in the middle here, these are components, and this is what I showed you is now kind of at the top right over here. It's like union and extract when you have more than one element selected, and we'll be using components when we are creating our logos. And so just if you see a video and you see them here and they're not there now, don't worry. Remember, they're over here. Okay, I'm excited that we're getting into Figma, and I look forward to seeing what you create.